Hey all, Eric from Which Way Games here. Let's dive in and learn how to play some Mechromancers.
Alright, so the first thing that we're going to need to do in Mechromancers is build our bots. Now, players are going to take turns selecting bot parts. Whoever picks their part first, the next person will get to pick 2 parts. Let's say I pick this head, Hollow Jack. Right, we know this one's a fan favorite. I'll set the rest of these over here for my partner to pick from. They'll pick 2 parts. Usually players will start with a head and another part, but there's no need to pick a head first. Let's say I want to pick this part next. And then I'll go ahead and pick this razor arm, and then I do have to finish with a set of legs. Let's go ahead and finish with these. Now on each of these parts we'll notice a couple different things. There is a suit, legs, hand, head, and then there are also some icons for various stats. If we look at this one right here, we can see that this planter arm has 2 defensive shields over here in the top left, so that's going to reduce incoming damage. This shredder arm is going to have an attack and a defense, so it's more of a mid-range type of arm. The Hollow Jack head is an aggressive head. It has just 1 attack attached to it. And then if we look at the legs, this one, the planter's roots have an increase to your max hand size. So there's a lot of variability within the parts, and you can kind of start planning out how you want to play the game even in this initial bot building stage. Now after both players have their bots assembled, what we're going to do is set one of these health tracking die to 6 on each one. So each bot part has 6 health. And over the course of the game, your goal is going to be to whittle down the health of each bot part belonging to your opponent. And doing so, when it reaches 0, will cause it to flip over to reveal the soul skeleton underneath. And when all 4 parts have been destroyed, and the soul skeleton is completely revealed, there's nothing left to bind it to this plane, and it dissipates. And so that's what victory looks like in Mechromancers. But before we get to that, there is one more step we have to complete with bot setup, and that is selecting our classes of spirit overlay. Now you can see around here there are 4 colors of these transparent cards set up. We have green over here, nature spirits. They tend to increase your max hand size. We have blue, phantom spirits. They tend to increase the amount of attack that you do, and along with how many of these spirit points you gain each turn. The red, or demonic spirits, tend to focus on attack increase and a little bit of hand size modification. And then over here we have the angelic spirits, which focus on attack and defense. So each player will get to pick 2 colors to play with, if you're not playing with specific Mechromancers character cards, which I would recommend for your first playthrough. So someone will pick 1, the next person gets to pick 2, and then whoever picked their first choice is left with whatever else is left. So let's say I pick the angelic spirits first. I'll go ahead and set these over here to the side. The person I'm playing against picks phantom and demonic spirits, so those aren't available. So I have angel spirits and nature spirits. And there should be 4 cards, 1 for each bot part, in each of these little stacks. And then over the course of the game, you can mix and match between these as you see fit. But you may only apply 1 soul overlay per bot part. You can't stack them on top of each other. You can't stack multiple overlays on top of each other, just 1 per bot part. But you can mix and match between the 2, and you can always sort of respec later in the game if you want to. Alright, let's get ready to play a sample turn. I'm going to go ahead and move my chosen spirit overlays over here to the side for now. And then I'll put my starting deck down here. Now I'm just fanning it out really quick for you to see. In your starting deck of 10 cards, there are 5 of these attuned spirit cards. Those will help you get spirit points to draft new cards, apply spirit overlays. There's a buckshot reaction, a throw a punch action, a drop kick action, and then this deflect reaction. Now action cards, as you can see here, can only be played during your turn. Reaction cards, like you see here, can only be played during your opponent's turn. All cards in the starting deck have this starting sub modifier here at the end. I'll give these a quick shuffle. There we go, and set it over here. Now I'm ready to take my first turn. So if I'm playing first, I would draw 3 cards, and if I'm playing second, I draw 5 cards. I'm gonna go ahead and play first. So the first thing I'm gonna do is draw my 3 cards. A little predictable for a starting hand, but this is just about getting started, right? So I've got my hand of cards, I've got my bot built, and the first thing I need to do on my turn, as it says over here, is attune spirit. So what that means is there's this little icon in the top right-hand corner of each bot part. That is the attune spirit icon. It means gain 1 spirit point. So at this point, I'm gaining 1 spirit point for each of my bot parts. There we go, 4, I can count. And now becomes the action phase. It's my turn, I can play actions during my turn. There's no limit to the amount of actions I can play, as long as there's not any like requirements or anything like that on certain cards that I'm not needing. But in this case, there's no requirement. These cards are all action cards. I can go ahead and play these 3 up here in the action zone. 3 spirit suit action cards. Attune spirit, I gain 3 spirit. 1, 2, 3. You can see it's just 1 attune spirit icon, just like it showed on the bot part. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spirit points in my pool, and I can choose to do a number of different things. There is a whole deck of reaction cards that you can draft from. You can see the draft cost up here in the top left-hand corner. This will be laid out in between the players. 5 cards revealed at the start of the game. And I can choose to draft from this pool, or I can choose to partake in any of these default actions, like applying a spirit overlay, drawing more cards, drafting cards, or destroying cards from my hand or discard pile, removing them from the game. In this case, just to show what it's like, I'm going to spend 5 spirit points to apply a soul overlay. So I'm going to go ahead and take these 5 spirit points. I'm going to find a soul overlay that I like. Let's go with this daisy chain. I'm going to go ahead and put it on top of my hollow jack. And now here, I'll bring this up close so you can see. And these are just prototypes, so the final ones are already modified to be a bit cleaner. But you can see now that I have my 1 attack, 1 increase to max hand size, and 1 defense. So it'll be harder to destroy this bot part when my opponent attacks me. I do have 2 spirit points left over. I think it's maybe just out of screen, but we can see here, this costs 2 spirit points. So I'm gonna end my turn by spending my last 2 spirit points and drafting this card into my discard pile. My turn is about to end, so I take all my cards from my action zone, put them into my discard pile, and I draw up to my max hand size, which now, normally it would be 5 cards, but because I have this bot part and this spirit overlay, my max hand size is now 7 cards. So it's a pretty quick start to the beginning of the game, you know? That's a pretty aggressive way to begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but I need 7 cards in my hand. So, like many other deck builders we've seen, what do? We take these cards, we shuffle them from our discard pile. That becomes our deck. And now I draw my final card. So this is my starting hand for the next turn. An aggressive opener, pretty cool bot build. All right, let's fast forward a little bit to a future turn where I've got some drafted cards in my hand now, and I can talk about the combo system and some of these peripheral effects and abilities on the cards. So let's say, for example, on my turn, I start by attuning spirit points. I'm going to go ahead and play another attuned spirit. I gain a point. I'm going to go ahead and play buckshot. Now let's talk about how this card interacts with my bot. So this is a head suit card, which would leverage any additional abilities from my head on the Mechrobot. So my head has 1 attack plus another attack. So this is an attack for 2 damage that I can direct towards an opponent's bot part, whichever bot part I am choosing to attack. Now let's go ahead and play a card like this, Nail in the Coffin. Now Nail in the Coffin is a hand suit card, so I'll get to use, let's say I can pick my Shredder arm, so it would be 1, 2, 3, plus 1 more for my Shredder arm. But there is this icon down here. Now this is the combo sync icon. Let's take a closer look at this card again. We can see here that these are the combo sync requirements. What this means is, if I have already played a head suit card and a spirit suit card, I automatically get this added to my attack. So I have played a spirit suit card and a head suit card, so I get this added to my attack. So this one card is a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage that I'm directing towards one of my opponent's bot parts. Now, I can split the damage from this attack to one and from this one to another, but I can't pool it as, let's say, 9 attack points and just divvy them up as I see fit. You can only split damage by card. Now let's say we're looking at my opponent's turn, right? You can imagine same bot over there. I know that's not possible, but let's look at some reactions, right? Reaction cards are played during your opponent's turn. So we'll start with this one that comes in our starting hand, Deflect, right? Adds 1 defensive point, or 1 point of defense. You can see here that it also has this little spirit point like augmentation, or spirit point boost, which would allow me to deal 1 piercing damage. So that's 1 unblockable damage back to the part that's dealing me damage. So let's say it was to that headshot card, this 1 piercing damage would go back to the head. If it's to that Nail in the Coffin card, which uses an arm, this 1 piercing damage would go to that arm. But you don't just have to play 1 reaction on your turn. You can also play other reactions, right? And there are reactions that have combo sync requirements as well. So this one would prevent all damage from 1 action. So I've already reduced the damage of that headshot card by 1, and then I've prevented all of the damage from Nail in the Coffin, and because I've met this combo sync requirement, my opponent has to discard 2 cards. I can even keep that going by playing another reaction. Now this reaction deals damage, and I can use this icon, the scrap icon, to remove this card from the game permanently. It won't go into my discard pile, it's removed from the game altogether, but to deal even more damage. So we can see here that the 3 types of additional actions you can use to modify your cards are SP Boost, Combo Sync modifiers, and the Destroy card benefit. So there are action cards that have these things, there are reaction cards that have these things, and as you go through the game, modifying that initial starting deck of yours that's largely just about gaining SP soon becomes this huge pool of actions and reactions that you can chain together, as long as you can, keep track of these little puzzly elements, manage your SP resources wisely, and think about when it's important to deal damage and when it's important to thin your deck. Now I want to fast forward again a little bit to much later in the battle, where we can see that we've had 2 bot parts destroyed. There's no hit die here, no health die here, and these 2 are lower on the scale. We've also added a second spirit overlay to this one. So let's take a look at some of these ghost parts, because as your bot parts break, their abilities change. We can see here that on this side, the Planter's Roots increase your max hand size by 1. When this part is broken, you no longer have that benefit, so your hand size would be, brought down by 1. But you do gain an additional SP, right? There's one here and 1 here, and then you also automatically add 1 piercing damage to any leg suit card that you're doing. So there is a little bit of a slingshot effect as it goes on. When you break your opponent's bot parts, they will be gaining more SP, and they will have piercing damage applied to future attacks that use those suits of cards. So it's a little bit of a balance between, do we want to break them one at a time because I want to get that part out of the way, or do we whittle them all down slowly and try to end it in one fell swoop? Do I spend my points drafting? Do I focus on adding a spirit overlay? And I can tell you that if you have a bot part that breaks, If you've already applied a spirit overlay to that bot part, and its health is reduced to 0, that spirit overlay stays. This is perfectly reasonable. But you cannot attach a spirit overlay to a bot part that has already been destroyed. So it is a little bit of a race between, am I trying to draft the best cards first? Am I trying to put out all my spirit overlays first? I want to make sure that I don't lose the opportunity to apply a spirit overlay later, but I also don't want to lose out on these good cards. So there's lots of choices to make here. And then as I mentioned earlier, after all 4 parts have been reduced to 0 health, the soul skeleton is revealed, and there is now nothing to bind this spirit to our plane, and it dissipates. At this point, I would shake my opponent's hand and congratulate them on a good game. So there are, of course, some instance-specific interactions and things like that that the rulebook will go into a little bit more details on. We have a frequently asked questions page on our website that can also answer some of those questions, but I think this should give you a great overview of how playing the game looks and what it's like to build a Mechrobot, power it with ghosts, and destroy your opponent. Thanks for taking the time.